I'm joined today by Bart De Muynck, VP Analyst with Gartner. Bart, welcome.
Thanks, Bob. How are you?
Well, I'm as well as everybody else, I guess, but the supply chain maybe not so much so. Now, we all know that supply chain visibility, end-to-end visibility is tough enough to achieve even in the best of times. Now, in the age of the COVID-19 pandemic, what is going on with the ability of supply chains to achieve the necessary visibility?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Bob. I think the last couple of years, visibility has really been one of those top leading technologies in the supply chain, top of the list of people to invest in. And I think with the current crisis, it's become even more important, the visibility play. And companies are starting to realize that with all the disruption going on, visibility is one of the areas that can really help them during this disruption.
As if they weren't aware of it before, they certainly are now.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And we really started starting kind of when the whole China thing happened with the inbound flow of products, where people wanted to understand what are the products still coming in, where are they at. Now the disruption is quite different. Now we see, the coronavirus hitting the US. We've seen a lot of disruptions here with certain lockdowns, with maybe less availability of drivers and opening hours, even DCs being closed. So now the visibility is really needed on the domestic side. And then we're going to go back to a period, maybe in a few months or even in a few weeks, where China's coming up with their production again. We're going to see a surge on the inbound side. Now we're going to start needing again to look at visibility from the inbound of the inventory coming back in, and then aligning that with our domestic distribution networks.
Well, I mean, to what extent did companies and importers have that level of visibility before? They certainly bragged about it a lot of times, or the providers of visibility solutions certainly did. Are you saying that there were gaps and black holes even before this started?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. Sometimes people had parts of visibility, maybe just on the inbound side. They might not have had the parts where you connect the inbound ships coming in to the terminal, to the drayage part, to the over-the-road part. And even that only stops at the DC where the products are offloaded. Then you're looking at a whole other matter, which is the outbound delivery to the customers, to the retail stores, to the consumers. So that whole end-to-end from origin all the way to your final customer or even the consumer, that part people really didn't have before.
How much worse is it now because of lockdowns, because of quarantines, because of the unavailability of labor? I mean, that just must cause complete chaos. It's a wonder that they have any visibility at all at this point.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct, because there's so much more going on, right? With detention, detention is going up because people are having to wait, the drivers are having to wait longer to get loaded, unloaded. In places like Europe, we see long border crossing timelines. We're going to start seeing that here between the US and Canada and Mexico as well. And a lot of the visibility providers are providing insights into that so people can arrange according to the border crossings. Now, one thing we do see is that in transit times are actually shortening. There's less traffic on the road, so trucks are going faster. But it means a lot of things are changing, even how you can go, like in a city of Manhattan, where you might not be able or allowed to go into anymore with a heavy truck. In Europe, it's a little bit different. You weren't allowed to go into London with a heavy truck, but now they released that regulation to allow companies to go and deliver straight to the stores in London. So a lot of changes. And the more changes we have and the more impact we have on that supply chain, the more you need that visibility.
Okay, well, rather than just ask companies to sit back helplessly and not be able to do anything during the crisis, there must be some things they can do to at least mitigate the impact, to achieve some measure of visibility. Give us some tips.
Yeah. So a couple of things. There's some vendors out there that have provided websites, free website for everyone to use, where they can have better insights. For example, the border crossing, there's some vendors in the US as well as in Europe that have made that available to the larger public. I've talked to some vendors as late as this morning who are also starting to look at that from the inbound side to provide information around ports and condition of ports live, and again, make that available for free to the larger community. And then we're also seeing that companies who maybe don't have technology can still look at investing in technology. These are not large CapEx investment like warehouse management systems or TMSs. These are solutions that are fairly easy to implement, don't necessarily take a lot of time, and don't really need a lot of money up front. So we're still seeing companies continue to invest in that even during the crisis, because this crisis isn't over yet. We might start seeing in a few weeks, hopefully, the numbers of cases go down, but the disruption in the supply chain is going to last maybe even long after this year.
You're saying that these technological solutions are actually out there, but do they in fact integrate information from all supply chain partners? It comes in different forms, it comes in different countries, different carriers. Does it all come together in these solutions, or is there still work to be done in that area?
Yeah, for the end-to-end true supply chain, there's still work that needs to be done. Obviously, if you want, for example, real live information around truck transportation visibility, that is easier to attain. But if you're looking at a full end-to-end control tower that goes beyond transportation, even beyond all the modes of transportation, and pulls information from all sources, that's unfortunately not something that you can put in place in a few weeks, not even in a few months. So those are larger projects. But I think at least having that transportation visibility, getting that data in, will get a lot of value to those companies.
So our number one takeaway for today is what exactly? I mean, you've described it to some extent, but really what is the number one thing that companies need to be doing right now to protect themselves and achieve that level of visibility?
I would say if you already have that type of technology, continue to look at other use cases that you can continue to use it and even broaden the use of it. And if you have it, don't think it's not something that you can implement. It's actually something companies need and continue to have to invest in to become better. So again, it might not be in this first phase of the crisis, but you might still be able to implement it and get the value out of it in phase 2, 3, and possibly 4.
Some really good advice. Thank you so much, Bart De Muynck of Gartner, for helping us to understand how companies can take control to some degree in the middle of this crisis. Thank you very much for talking to me today.
Thanks very much, Bob. I hope you stay safe and healthy.
You too, Bart. Thanks a lot.